Hey Kent, how you doing, man? Can you hear me?
I was muted. No, I'm not.
Okay, perfect. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm great, man. Great. Family doing okay?
Yeah, everybody's all right. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, no complaints for sure. Yep, all good.
Let's see how many we get to join today. Did
Yeah,
you did you get in last week?
yeah, I was here last week.
Okay, I was all gone, so I didn't see last week. So
Okay, yep, we were on last week. Hey Mike, how you doing?
can't hear him.
Mike, you muted? You might be muted. There we go. Connecting,
There we go.
connecting the audio. Yep. Hey Kurt, how are you?
He's muted.
I'm good, thank you.
There we go.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for joining.
Well, you bet.
We'll get started in a couple minutes. Appreciate you guys having me on tonight. As mentioned last week, I'm going to try to give some general information, maybe not five-man mechanic specific or high school rule specific, but just general line of scrimmage stuff that hopefully can be helpful for you. And I want it to be pretty interactive today as much as possible, with questions and scenarios and such. Then we got Mike here who can certainly help us with specific rule questions or mechanics questions. So definitely want to give you a good value tonight as best I can, and hopefully take some away from it tonight. So thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. All right, I'll be right back. Just a sec. All right, I'm back. I'll give it about another minute and we'll get started. Let's see. Anybody know how to, I know it's a button where you can see oh, there we go. Never mind. I got it. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Good, Chris. How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I can't complain.
Awesome.
Doing just fine, man. Thanks for joining tonight.
No, glad you're here, man. Thank you.
All right, it's 7:01. Want to value your time tonight. As I mentioned, for those that don't know, I'm Chris Loving, Rochester area official since started football in 15. I started basketball. I guess I started basketball and football in 15. I worked high school for 3 years, and in 2018, I was blessed with the opportunity to work full-time Division I in the Missouri Valley Conference, where I started off as a line judge, and this year I got promoted to the Mid-American or the MAC conference, and I'm now head line judge is what we call it. So I've been in your shoes. I've been new. I've been, asking a million questions and trying to learn. So I'm grateful to try to give back, and also try to learn a few things myself. So thank you. For those I don't know. Tonight, I do want to just start off briefly because I don't think I know Kurt personally. Just a quick introduction, similar to what I just did. How long you been doing football, and how long you been doing line of scrimmage and that sort of thing, just so we all get a feel of where we are, if you don't mind. So, Kurt, let's start with you. We'll go to Dave, go to Kent, and we'll end up with Mike.
Yeah, Kurt Hughes, longtime football coach. Was coach at Stewartville, at Mayo High School, different places. Recently had my son just graduated from high school, so I decided that I really have a need to go to many games. I thought maybe I'd continue to give back and get into officiating. So last year was my first year. So this year I was asked to join the Marshall Barons crew. So
Congratulations.
that's kind of where I'm at. I said last year, and I'll say it again, I thought I'd give it a shot and get yelled at by people I don't know instead of people I do know. So you know how it is.
There you go, man. Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave Nagel. Yeah, Kurt and I were rookies last year. We've known each other for quite a while here, and UW lacrosse alums, oddly enough. And this actually is going to be my first year on a crew. I'm with Greg King this year, so I rookied last year for football. This will be my 20th or 21st year for basketball. So last week there's a little cross talk with some of you know how do you improve on the field and different things. And like I say, without doing basketball, I think I would have been a really bad football official, to be honest with you. No, it all takes time, whatever. But yeah, looking forward to this year. Hopefully the season gets figured out.
Right.
I'm always curious. I ask those questions to figure out if there's going to be a season. So I guess we'll take it by ear and see what happens.
All right. Congrats, Dave. Welcome. Good job. Kent?
Yeah, I'm Kent Brunsma. This will be my third year doing football. I've done basketball for 5 years, I believe now.
Okay.
Last year I had a calf injury. Otherwise, I'd have got 5 varsity games, but the calf injury cut me short
Okay.
to 2. So this year I'm on Bo Gaisley's crew. I'll be line judge with them. So.
Okay. Congrats. That was my referee when I worked high school, 2 of the 3 years. So good.
And two.
Yep. Tim was my mentor. Background, I didn't say this. I started off as an umpire. So, I've been all over the field, and Tim was my first mentor. So glad that he's here tonight. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, guys.
Mike, give a quick intro.
Yeah, I started in 1989, worked mostly the wing. We had 4-man crews at the time, so I was usually a wing, didn't really care to umpire till 92, and then I became a white hat and spent the last 25 years as a white hat. But I'm currently the regional coordinator for the State High School League for Southeast Minnesota.
Okay. You plan to come out of retirement this year?
No, in fact, I'm wondering if the guys that did retire last year, this is probably as good a year as any to start your retirement. They're probably not regretting not having to deal with the COVID stuff.
Yeah. Like they say, a year too soon than a year too late. So good job. Tim, you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Tim Nicometto, currently VP of football for the association. Actually everybody on this call probably knows me. Not working high school football other than under varsity because I'm watching my kid hopefully play on Friday nights.
Yeah.
For John, see if I can see that, John Marshall Rockets. Anyway, currently an umpire in the Northern Sun, been working there for 6 years, and more than likely we won't have a season, but you know what, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but we gotta prepare as if we will.
Absolutely, prepare for no matter what happens. Yep, and I'm currently preparing, and if we have one, great. If not, well, that's too bad, but I'm here because I like to know what you guys do on the line. I've often wondered that because in the middle of the field, we take care of business, and you guys in the line, I don't know what you guys do. No, kidding.
Everything
I'm just here to
else.
listen. Just here to listen. Thanks,
Well,
Chris.
thanks, Tim. Thanks for your leadership as well. Appreciate you being on. MJ, want to give a quick intro?
Now you can hear me.
There you go.
Sorry, I just got done working, so I'm just leaving my picture up for right now.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, MJ, football. This will be my third year doing football, so just always looking to improve. And of course, I know most of the folks on the call, and either because I work other sports with them, or I've met them, through meetings, or we got a couple new people. But yeah, I work basketball, work softball, of course, none this spring, and I'm hoping there's a football season, but it's day by day. So
Yep.
like Chris said, we got to prepare, and that's what we're doing. And this is the next best option to getting together, and plus, we can learn from each other. So it's a bonus all the way around.
Absolutely. Thank you. And congrats on your success so far. Thank you so much.
Say
go
one
ahead.
thing I'll throw out there.
Go ahead.
That I'm not sure if it's been publicized to all the officials yet, but the State High School League has determined for sure that the mechanics clinics will be Zoom calls.
Okay.
So there won't be any in-person mechanics clinic at Mayo High School. There'll just be two, statewide Zoom calls that you can, sign on to on a couple different dates in August. That'll all come out, but it's sort of related to the who knows what's going to happen. They were hoping to have in-person mechanics clinics, but they've already decided, no, let's just go with Zoom calls.
Okay. Thank you for that info. Do you happen to know if they'll record it?
Oh, I'm sure they'll record them.
Okay. Good.
They typically do. So yeah, I would guess that there's not really a reason for any football official to not attend or at least view a recording of the
Correct.
clinic this year.
Correct. Excellent. Somebody
So-
was saying something. Go ahead.
Mike, I just have a question there, Mike. Is that the one that we have to attend every 3 years? And it usually is that in Rochester once every 3 years?
That's correct. This year it was going to be in Rochester at Mayo, and it will not be.
Well, we'll get
FYI, those
credit.
dates are 8/19 and 8/24.
Right. Yeah, and you will be required to attend one of them, and the details, the nitty-gritty detail of whether watching a recording would be good enough, I can't answer that right now.
Okay.
But you will be required. You still have to attend a clinic once every 3 years, but attending one of these Zoom conferences will count.
Perfect. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, that's good information. Do the best you can to see it live, because then you can ask your questions and, get that raw feedback and get a feel for what's happening. So do all you can to make it. Lastly, Dave Benson, you want to give a quick intro? You're muted, Dave. There we go.
Okay. Hello, Chris. Hello, everybody. Football is my first love. Been involved with it quite a few years. Know Mike from youth football years ago. Kurt from Mayo High School. Tim from whenever. And it's my favorite sport. Love doing it.
Excellent. Whose crew are you with this year?
I'm with Sulphurs and that crew. I've been with them for about 5 years.
Okay, good. Thank you. Welcome. So like I said, I just want to get a quick intro for everybody, get a feel of where we all are. What's exciting is, from what I'm hearing, other than Dave Benson, everybody is within like 2-3 years of working varsity football. Some of you guys first year coming up, hopefully. And so that's exciting. That's very kudos to you for doing what you had to do to pass and get where you are today. And today, as I mentioned, as Tim mentioned last week, Tim Stilo, I'm here to kind of talk about communication in a general sense. But some of you were on earlier when I said, let's make this interactive, because I can't give you a rundown on all the rules and the mechanics per se on 5-man mechanics, but let's talk about general things that cross every level, and even some of you, or maybe all of you, do multiple sports. So just wanted to talk about communication to start, but then we can take it wherever we want to take it. So for anybody that's new specifically, what kind of questions or what issues did you deal with last year involving communication? And keep in mind, I'm talking with the coach, with players, with your partners, with whoever, communication in general. What kind of questions or issues did anybody have last year that maybe we can start with, and then we can go from there?
Hey, this isn't a question I had, but I am curious. Do we have any crews that don't use O2O? Are we all on O2O? Is anybody not?
We got a few new guys on that don't have a crew or didn't have a crew last year.
I know Bo's crew, Dave is,
Yeah,
I think Dave Nagel said he's going to be on Bo's crew. They use O2O, and Marshall's crew certainly does. Benny, does Kevin use O2O?
Yeah, from what I know, I think every crew has an O2O.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
So that, that kind of, Chris, lays the base, the communication is different now with O2O from my ancient creaking non-O2O ways. I left the year before those really came.
Mike, can you say what O2O means?
Official to official.
Headsets, radio.
But
just want to make sure you knew.
But I'll give you a small example just to get things started. For me as a referee, a small thing like the head linesman letting me know proactively all the time that 5 will get me 1 or it won't. So I don't have to be screaming over there asking, will 5 get me 1? That's a little different now with O2O because you can just ask the question, right? But there's a good example for me of I found whoever was running the chains, this year you'll be switching sides, but whoever's running the chains, when it gets close to that plus or minus 5, just let me know, Mike, 5 will get you 1, in sort of a calm, you don't have to scream it, whatever. Those little things, when all of a sudden there's an encroachment, I've got it in my head that you told me 5 will get me 1, or maybe after the encroachment occurs, you tell me. But be aware of that kind of thing. What's important? It's important for the referee to know, will that 5-yard defensive penalty give me a first down? You saved me looking around and turning and looking to see where the chains are and having to ask. So that's a small example of communicating with your fellow officials. But I think the big challenge for the wings is communicating, and this is where Chris can help a lot, I think, is communicating professionally with the coaches. Kurt can tell you he wants to be communicated with professionally. He doesn't want you putting your arm around his shoulder and trying to be his buddy.
Right.
He's not going to go out to dinner with you after the game. He's not your friend. You're working together, your colleagues in a way. You have different missions, but you both want that game to run well. Mm-hmm. So Kurt is going to tell you, don't be my buddy. I'm not looking for a pal. But when I need information, get it to me and get me the right amount. Don't keep talking and going on and on about the rule. Just give me what I need and you'll get along well all night long. But Chris, you can elaborate on that. But as important as the rules and knowing the rules are, being able to communicate when you're on the wing that'll make or break you. It really will.
Yeah, that determines the whole game. How the sideline handles the coaches determines. You can have a perfect game on the field, but if the communication is bad, that coach is not going to look at it as a perfect game. Even if every call was correct, it's going to make for a rough night for everybody. To your point about the O2Os, I agree that there's certain information that you should get through briefly, clearly, and at the right time. You don't want to be on the O2O as the ball is being snapped. You don't want to be on the O2O as the referee is making an announcement. So some of those best practices is be mindful of when you use it. And another good point Mike said was do all you can to talk normal, because I've experienced it. I've been a victim of it. I've been guilty of you're so excited. You got something really important to say. You're loud. You're talking fast, and nobody heard a word you said. If you just talk normal, everybody can hear you, no problem. So it's very important to talk calmly, slowly, and clearly, whatever it is. Even if it's something urgent, just be calm. Everybody will hear it. And if you got to shut it down, shut it down. Communication, as we know, is also nonverbal. So in Mike's example of 5 will get you 1, I would encourage everybody to come up with a visual signal that you and the referee and just say the whole crew is aware of. I know for us last year, we would just do this. We would just do this. 5 will get you 1, and do it where they can see it. 5 will get you 1, and the referee will tell you whether they'll give you a head nod or a point or a thumbs up. You guys work that out so that everybody knows I did this, referee did this, he did this, we're good. And the last case could be hop on the radio, 5 will get you 1. If your referee never looked at you, 5 will get you 1. Or you may have a word for it being short. I think in the NFL, they call it, this is a shorty, or something. Figure out a way to communicate information like that. Another good communication is goal line stuff. Remind me, is it at the 15 and in line of scrimmage has the goal line, or 10 and in, or something like that?
I think at the 15 is when the back judge moves to the end line. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So communicating important lines where responsibilities change. So now you as a line of scrimmage person, you have to get to the goal line. And we clock out sometimes. Maybe it's a up-tempo game, or it's raining or whatever. Hop on that O2O, and say, line of scrimmage, talk to your partner. We got the goal line. Kurt, we got the goal line. MJ, we got the goal line. Let's say a penalty moves them back to the 20. Call in your back, Jared, you got the goal line. Hobbs, you got the goal line. See, that communication, it keeps us all on the same page. Make sure we're in the right spot. We're not running into each other. We're not all looking at the same thing. So just little things that are so basic, if we just do it every time, it's going to make us good. And when we get in a crunch situation, or a crazy situation, our routine is going to save us. Does that make sense?
Hey, Chris, one quick backup for you, Mike, or Benny, or any of the other wings. What are some of the most common questions or statements that coaches will be in a wing's ear at over the course of a game? Is it ball spot? Is it, penalty? What are the things that the wings are trying to relay to the crew that we're always hearing from the coaching staff?
It's a great question.
Well, penalty, they want to know what the foul is, and if they're the offended team, they'll want to know their options. And if you're relaying foul information to that coach, regardless of whether it's good news or bad news, he'll be more accepting of the bad news. If you only talk to him, when it's bad news, he's going to get sick of seeing you come over because he'll know you're there to tell him that his team did something bad. But the more you can be like, if you don't know yet, just stand right by the coach and say, I'll let you know as soon as I know, coach.
You know, one thing I'd like to add too is the coach might ask, well, what can my kid do better? What can he do to avoid that?
Yeah, that's
that foul.
That's a good point, because a lot of times they'll want to know, what did he do?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And well,
I mean,
so
no coach wants to hear he's got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct coming or a personal foul, but the calling official doesn't have a good explanation for exactly what he did.
They'll always want a number too.
They want a number, and when I call as an umpire, if I have a holding foul on the offense, most times good coaches will want to know, okay, what did he do?
Correct.
And if I can communicate to my wing what that kid did or that player did to create an offensive foul, oh, okay, now I can coach that. I can teach them that on Monday or Saturday or whenever they have their practice.
Yep.
So those are very important things to do. If you can, I don't want to dominate this, but put it into the holding categories, put it into a bucket and the kid knows, okay, fine. But anyway.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what they asked for. And when you give them that answer, this is what number 20 did, or this is what he didn't do right, or when you can explain, you have a much better chance of getting a positive or at least a cordial acceptance of what you said. But when, don't say, oh, I don't know, coach, I didn't see it. Mm-mm.
Most coaches just want to know. Yeah, no. Most coaches want to know what the kid did so that he or she can coach the kid to do it correctly the next time. Exactly. That's what they want to know, because we all know coaches don't read the rule book. They don't.
Yeah, and on the other hand, if they don't need that or don't want it, or they know what he did, don't belabor it. Correct. That's where it's like, the coach wants to get on to the next play now. He gets it.
Correct.
You don't need to be explaining yourself. One thing I'd throw in there, if you work more than 1 year, you're going to have a call where you didn't get the number. Don't ever guess. Don't make it up. I used to tell coaches as part of my pregame, we'll give you a number if we have one. I apologize in advance if we don't get it, but if I make it up, sure as shooting, you're going to turn and point to a player on your bench and say, number 76 is right here.
Yep, and you're dead for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so
credibility.
Don't make it up. You tell them, coach, I'm sorry, we saw the head twist, but we just didn't see which player grabbed it.
If you don't have a number, sometimes you can maybe say the position.
Correct.
Tight end or the tackle on this side or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I managed to not get the number on roughing the kicker calls. That's hard to do. But all you can say is, God, I didn't get the number. Oh my God. Then I try to get somebody to confess, and that
there you go.
Work.
You made it 25 years.
Usually the kid will say, it was me.
Yeah.
At least on those calls, Mike, you can just say, coach, I missed it, but I'm sure you'll see it on the tape.
Right. Somebody did it.
Yeah. I'll just interject a little bit with my limited football experience. But the coaches, when you don't have a number, it happened to me last year a couple of times. It's funny because in basketball, it's the first thing we get after the foul. And in football, I have a hell of a time getting a number. But I did what Benny said. I just said, Coach, I'm sorry, I don't have the number, but he was on this end. He was the wideout or whatever it was. And he's like, okay. And the other thing that I was going to add on there, when Mike was talking about, don't guess, but coaches just want an explanation. And a lot of times, that play didn't happen in front of you or didn't happen even on your side of the field, and you don't know who it is. I just said, I'll let you know in a minute. I said, I'll find out when they get all their business done on the other side. Okay.
Exactly.
And then I'd come back and give them a number and say, hey, it was 42. And like Tim said, you know, half the time the kid's already off the field and goes, yeah, it was me. You know, but yeah, if you're just honest, and that's one of the things about communicating in football that because of course working other sports you transfer your skills, but one thing about communicating in football is you can be much louder, you can be very tardy with the information because it takes longer to get things from plays, right? I mean, maybe you've got that play, like you said, 5 will get us 1, and now we've got a big play, and now we've got a penalty, and now we got to come back. Coaches tend to be very patient because they want that play sorted out the right way, and they're not just going berserk over on the sideline because they need a number. They just want to make sure that everything gets adjudicated in the right order as well. So I've found that coaches, for the most part, have been pretty patient with relaying information as long as they get the information sooner or later.
100% MJ, 100%.
Okay, and the other thing I was going to say too is when you were talking about, and I know we got some more folks on here about communicating with your crew on the O2Os. Okay, so this was new to me, and I didn't communicate much folks, and I went through O2s here, and I've worked with those.
Breaking up a little bit, MJ.
Breaking up, MJ. Might be in a bad spot.
Sorry.
Kind of breaking up.
Yeah.
Are you driving through the Wisconsin Dells?
I am driving fast, and that is a bad spot.
Maybe give it a couple minutes and try to come back with that point so we can hear you in a couple minutes. But thank you for sharing that. And even, even at the NFL level, I've had the pleasure of working as a game day assistant and being on the sideline. And even at that level, if the official literally says, you know, coach, I didn't have the number, but it was the right tackle, they're totally fine. Like when you can give them something to refer to, they'll live with it, you know. Another thing that's important is warnings or preventative officiating. So if a kid was very close to committing a foul, they were very close to an illegal formation or very close to a blindside block, coaches love and the kids appreciate that preventative. You know, they were this close. You tell them, hey, 20, you know, you were really close to a, you know, whatever, or hey, 15, you know, you almost, or had you connected, that would have been a foul, or hey, you got to line up, you know, get up on the line, get off the line. That stuff will make your game so much better because now they'll fix it and then you don't have to flag them, or they don't fix it, you flag them, and what can the coach say? I've experienced where I've come to the coach, hey, your line needs to move up some, or hey, this guy did that. When they don't do it, he just told you. The ref just told you not to do that, or he just warned you. Boom, you're done. You got no issues on your part because you communicated in advance to prevent them from fouling. And if they don't do it, then that's on them and not on you. So that's very important. Preventative. Tim and Mike in the middle do it a lot, like every play, probably.
Unbelievable, Chris. I mean, I can't tell you how many times per game a player will say this, that, or the other. I said, or Chris, you hit it spot on, absolutely spot on. If a player is going to be, I can't agree with you more. I really can't.
Two things I would add is number one, don't ever say you did this, but I'm not going to flag it this time. Next time I will. You do exactly what Chris says, which is you came close, and if you had followed through and done this, it would have been a foul.
Right.
You can even do that where technically you've got a hold, but because the play went a different direction, you can say, you know, that would have been a hold if the play had gone your way. You got too handsy there. Keep your hands in.
Yep.
But the
And-
other thing I'd add about warnings, and I think, Chris, you were implying this, if you're warning on one side of the field, the players of the team on the other side, make sure your partner across the field gets the word and say, hey, tell the coach, I told number 75 he needs to be closer to the line. He's too far back.
100%.
And that coach, when you say, hey, coach, just so you know, we've warned number 75, he's been setting up too deep to get ready to pass block. By telling that coach, he's going to help you, or like Chris put so well, he's going to know why you flagged him. And he's going to say, he told you to move up.
Yep.
So make sure the coach is aware of any warnings. And, you know, because Tim, you're going to do a lot of warnings in the middle, but without telling the wing, the coach may not be aware that you've been warning people. And I don't mean for every hands problem.
Sure.
It's probably more important for things like formations where
Correct.
you really have an issue with, say, the guard and tackle setting up too deep. And,
Correct.
you know, you're like, geez, you guys, you're basically in the backfield every play. I need you to move up.
Yep.
It's important that offensive coach knows that it's an issue and you've given him a warning.
Yeah, and make sure
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
write
If-
it on your card too.
Yeah. If my H or my L says, hey, tell the defensive tackle to move up or move back, I'm going to say that. I'm going to tell him that. You know, and if he doesn't after one or two plays, well, you know what? I told you. You know, we told you. And as far as, you know, like the holding and the other things, if a player says, what did I do? What did I do? And why didn't you call that hold? I will say, dude, it was that way. The play went that way. And they're like, who cares? It's a hold. I said, tell you what, if it goes the other way, right? If your team is on offense and you do the same thing, I'm not going to call it there. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
I'm not going to, okay, I get it now. So communication, Chris, doesn't necessarily mean your crew, your coaches, the players. Talk to
100%.
your players and
Talk
say,
to 'em.
you know what? I'm going to give you the same call or non-call.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Just don't
Dumb
cross
players would be
that
like,
line.
Huh? Anyway.
Yeah, don't cross the line into what some coaches may consider coaching their players.
Right.
Some coaches don't like that. Hey, Chris, one thing related to formations you should talk to, and you see a lot more discipline at your level, but I think it's helpful for the young guys here, is an issue a lot of younger wings have is helping players line up on the line of scrimmage. Are they on? Are they off? How do you tell them? Do you talk to them? And things you shouldn't do. I mean, as a brief example, I told my guys, don't tell a player to move up. Just tell him where he's at. Hold your arm out and say you're in the backfield, or have your arm down and say you're on the line. But if that coach sees you motioning, telling his player to go up to the line and the ball's snapped and now you've got to throw a flag, he's going to be furious.
Yep. And you
But
have to throw the flag. So
What maybe we can talk as a group here as to how everybody currently handles letting the guys know, because they all want the help. It's
Right.
like Josh Dasher said as a wide receiver, he says he really wanted the help from officials to let him know where he was.
yeah, now that's an excellent topic. So it's kind of your choice, I would say, but you do have to do something. So some people, they'll step out on the field a little bit. I wish I could demonstrate better, but they'll put their foot out and kind of like, this is the line. They'll put their foot out where everybody can see, you know, this is it right here.
Hey, Chris, not to
yes, sir.
interrupt, but
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but didn't one of the NFL officials say, my belt line is the line?
Yeah, some do. To be honest, everybody's got a different, not everybody,
And just
but
say,
there's a couple
if
different.
my belt line is the line, if you're on it, you're on the line.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. Yep. some
That's
people.
what Mike Spanier advocates.
That's the guy I was
what
thinking
he
of. I
did.
couldn't think of his name, but yes, Mike Spanier would say, my belt line is the line. If you're above or beyond,
Mhm.
that's thanks,
And
Mike. I couldn't think of his name.
Chris, especially with us flipping sides now and everything,
Mhm.
do you think it's good for the wings on a crew to do it the same way? Like
And
you're saying, stick your foot out. I think it's better if both wings do the same thing. Do you agree with that, or not too important?
I think it can be helpful, especially at the high school level where they're probably not as advanced and whatever. It helps because then they don't have to think, well, this guy said and that guy said, and the coaches may not be as involved. Because I'll be honest, in my last 2 years, me and my partner, and I've had two different partners, do totally different things as far as visually, but it works because at that level, those guys, they get it, and the coaches help them a lot better. But in high school, doing it the same will probably be best practice, and less is more. So all you're telling them is on or off, and it's it's good if you can do it verbally and visually. So if you do the belt line, you're saying on, or the foot on, or if you have to punch, you say off. So they can hear you and they can see you. The coaches can see you. You know, the TV can see you. Or if you're doing the foot, they can see that. Or if you're, doing something. But no, absolutely, never tell them to go back or forward. Um, Never say you're good, or whatever. Just say on or off, and then show them on or off whatever you do. Because again, I've seen in the NFL, there's guys, they don't move at all. They literally stand there. The receiver will look at them, but see, at that level, they kind of tell you where they want to be. So the receiver will point down like I'm on, and the official say just acknowledge, or they'll say I'm off. The official will acknowledge. That's a little sophisticated. At our level here, I would do my best to be very deliberate and say on, point or belt, whatever, or off. But that starts before the game. The best way to do this is in your pregame when they're practicing, when they're lining up, running plays. Get to them at that time and just go up to them. Hey, 80, how you doing? Let's have a good game tonight. Hey, when you look at me, when you're on, I'm going to do this and I'm going to say on. When you're off, I'm going to do this and I'm going to say off. Does that make sense? Oh, okay, ref. Or no, can you show me again? Okay. And then go to the coach. Hey, coach, just so this is what I'm going to do. Everybody's on the same page. And in the game, if they forget and they're in between, go back to him. Hey, coach, remember I said he's on when he's right here. Oh, okay. And that's the best way to handle that is pregame, talk to the receivers and the coach if you can, and let them know what you're going to do. And I like Mike's point. If both sides are doing it the same, you should have a smooth operation from that standpoint. Any questions on that or any,
Well, I'm very verbal with my kids because the
Good.
last thing I want to do is call it illegal formation.
Yeah.
So when they're coming out to me, a lot of times as they're kind of setting up in the middle, I'll say, do you want to be on or off?
Do that.
And if they're close enough to be on, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because so I'll tell them, okay, I got you on. So that then they don't have to worry about moving up or moving back. If they're within a yard, that's good enough for me. And I'll tell them, okay, I got you on. But otherwise, if they want to be off, I'll say, okay, I got you off. Just so the fact that they know it doesn't confuse them and I don't have to call a penalty.
Yeah, and we've got to use football IQ. And as line of scrimmage, we rule on the formation every play. So if you see, he'd be the fourth guy in the backfield, okay, he can be off, no problem. If you see he'd be the fifth guy, you just got to use football IQ and say, you know what, this kid's probably on. And if he's close enough, we use the term called blade of grass. If you can see a blade of grass, you know, that you can consider him off if he needs to be.
Yeah,
We
I
can
think
tell.
isn't the normal thing to just say put them where they want to be.
Right.
And the main thing is, Chris, do you agree with this? You need to see at least some stagger
Yeah.
between them. So
Something.
you got a wide receiver who wants to be on the line and a wide flanker who wants to be off, in between the wide man and the line.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're not even with each other, as
Right.
long as there's some stagger,
Something. Yep.
you can put them where they want to be.
100%.
But, you know, if that wide guy is clearly 3 yards in the backfield and there's no stagger between them, now you're stuck. You better
Right.
get that arm up. Maybe
Correct.
even, I don't know if you advocate the 2 fingers to say I've got 2 in the,
Mhm.
off the line on this side. You know, you raise one arm and have 2 and punch back. But just like you say, make it visible to a coach.
Big time.
That coach, I had my arm up. He was just too far back. You know, he was even with your flanker. He was 3 yards in the backfield. But short of that, I personally didn't like illegal formation calls where the guy technically was off the line, but he was like a full yard ahead of the flanker. If
Correct.
he clearly wants to be on the line and he's staggered some, I would let those go. Do you guys all agree with that?
You bet.
100%.
You bet. There's no advantage being gained.
No, none. Also, you can, again, using football IQ and common sense, let's say the formation is pretty suspect and they run a running play to the other side and a 2-yard gain. What is a legal format? What, like Dave just said, what's the advantage? That's when you go and talk to them. Hey guys, you got to be off. You got to be on. Because if that was a passing play, I probably would have flagged that. You know, something where they see that you're paying attention, you know what's going on, and you're trying to help them be legal as best you can. So if they are illegal and the play is a running play that's stuffed for 2 yards, you know, like MJ said, you have time to process things. You know, when it's snapped, you don't have to be the quickest flag in history. You can see it like, that was a bad formation. Oh, the quarterback got sacked right away, or he fumbled the snap and went down. No, you don't want an illegal formation on that. They're already hurt by the play being broke. You know, so who is it? Rogers Redding says, "Don't trouble trouble," or Bill Lamagna, don't trouble trouble. They already upset that they just screwed that play up. Why add a penalty? Then they got to figure out the defense. Do they want to accept it or decline? Like, keep the game going, keep everything smooth, and the coaches will appreciate you for being preventative and using some common sense.
You also
go ahead.
can a lot of times with the coaches, if the guys are on your side and you got a coach on your side, you say, "Coach, your wideouts aren't looking at me. They need to pay more attention to you."
Absolutely.
I guarantee you, they will scream at their wide receivers to start. Coach, they're not lining up very good, and they'll get on them, and that'll take care of it right there.
Yeah. And it takes it off of you. Now it's just, you're not the bad guy anymore. You're just doing your job at that point.
Hey, Chris, one interjection here. When you're talking all these different formations, when you have the most opportune time to call legal formation, when you have 3 wide receivers or, a slot back or something like that. I was shadowing a game last year, and that came up in the pregame, are there going to be any trick plays or any odd formations that you're going to line up in tonight?
Mm-hmm.
And then the coach would either say yes or no. And I remember being on the sideline, and then the coach came over to the linesman, I don't remember who it was, and said, "Hey, here's this play that we talked about before the pregame. Just want to let you know, just let your crew know." So I thought that was kind of a cool experience, just because everyone was, again, they were all on the same page because they talked about it in the pregame. And it wasn't a crazy formation, but you could see where if you didn't know it was coming, you'd have to shake your head and go, "Okay, what am I looking at here?" But just a way to look at that the pregame when we got all those odd formations.
That brings up a philosophy thing. When it's a trick play, everything has to be 100%. That's the time when you do have to be very technical and precise, is when there's a trick play, because that's when, to Dave's point, now there is an advantage. because if it's tricky and the defense is like unsure, wait, is that guy covered? Is that guy eligible? Then that's when it's a huge advantage if they're a little bit off or a little bit,
Like a swinging gate.
all of that swinging gate, all these weird wide, the linemen are super wide out and 2-point conversions and things of that nature need to be perfect. That's when you do want to be very precise and make sure it's completely legal, because otherwise it's a huge advantage and it's not fair to the other team. And that goes to our topic. A coach may say, hey, you haven't thrown an illegal formation flag all game. Say, coach, somehow you have to articulate, coach, you got to be perfect on these kind of plays. Coach, that's a huge disadvantage for your guy being off like that. Or use language that's showing that you're being fair. I think Tim was saying you can, if you have to, if it, belabors or they're just not getting it. Hey, coach, I will call the same thing if it happened. If it happened that way against you, we call it the same way. Show them that you're being fair. You're trying to take the disadvantages out of the game. So that's a good, excellent point to bring up about trick plays and communicating. And when they're coming, it certainly helps. Because when you don't know, go ahead, Tom.
And when you talk about communication, Chris, that's a very, very gentle subject to talk about. We're going to call it the same way for you, and we're going to call it for them. Be very, very careful when you say those words.
Right. You have to say it like, coach, if it happened that way on the other side, then boom. But yeah, you're right. You don't want to say for you and we and us. You just say, if it happened this way,
yes.
If it happened that way, then ... Very
Chris, exactly spot on. You don't want to use those terms.
Right.
And when you talk about communication, you're spot on. You just don't want to put yourself in those positions where you say, well, coach, he or she didn't do it that way, so we're not going to do it that way for you. What?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Just
agree.
Be very careful when you say those words as line of scrimmage when you talk to your coaches. Be very careful.
Agreed.
Less is more.
Mm-hmm.
And MJ, you're probably one of the best at talking with coaches.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So agree. If MJ, if you have anything to add to this conversation, I would love to hear it.
Still in the Dells.
No, actually, West Salem. No, well, I think, a couple of things, and even, Dave and Kurt, I mean, everybody has had some experience in communicating, back and forth, Benny, I mean, with coaches as a coach or as an official. But I think the one thing that we can all agree on is nobody likes anybody to try to BS them. So if you don't know, just say you don't know, and you'll find out the information. And Tim, like you said, Chris said, using the correct terminology. That's, that way we communicate the same thought. I was at a basketball meeting a couple years ago with coaches, and we were trying to talk about a travel play that drove officials crazy. And the coaches were like, oh yeah, it's this new play. It's this Euro step thing. And we're like, it's a crossover step and you're moving the pivot foot a second time. And we debated this move for 40 minutes until we all figured out we were talking about the same play, because we were using different terminology. So, using the correct terminology and being honest, if you don't know, you don't know. And the other thing I think that I wish I'd have learned a lot earlier in my career was just be factual. Not everybody's going to like the outcome, okay? But just be factual. It's not personal. And just say, this is what it is. And I'll tell you, I noticed that last year a couple of times, or maybe had an assistant coach start to bark at me a little bit, and the head coach turned around and said, "Shut up. It wasn't her call. It was on the other side of the field. She got nothing to do with it." And I'll tell you what, those two instances when that happened, those head coaches went way up the ladder on my ladder of respect, because they get it. They get the big picture.
Right.
And, I think that's just all part of it, is just taking your time, giving the facts, don't make it personal, and move on. I've talked with coaches and I said, do you understand the call? Yes. I don't like it, but do you understand it? Yes. Okay. Now we need to move forward. And I think everybody would agree that we all get, a little heated if it's something that we don't like, but we understand it's part of the game and we can move on. If I can, I'm going to interject something here with the O2O thing again. Like Chris was talking about, I have you on or I have you off, and doing that nonverbal communication with the player, but then with your crew talking about that next piece of the coverage. So like Mike said, if I have two off and I've punched back and I got my other hand in the air, my hand that's on the line of scrimmage, to tell my headlinesman that I've got two deep on my side, I should hear my back judge in my ear telling me which coverage he's going to take, whether he's going to take my inside guy or my outside guy, depending on what we know, like what Dave talked about. Is this a trick play or whatever, so that we can all be prepared to be looking in the right place at the right time. And so going back to when I got gargly here back by Camp McCoy, that was one of the things I was going to say was practice what you're going to say on the O2O with your crew.
Yes.
So like, what do you want me as a head linesman to say? What do you want me as a linesman to say, as a line judge? Whose responsibility is what? As a back judge, what do you want me to say? If you've got that deep pass that's 30 yards down the field that your wide receiver catches as he's running towards the sideline of the deep in the end zone, what kind of communication do you want from me if I'm your linesman? Do you want me to run that full 30 yards with them and come right down to you and tell you I got a catch? Or do you want me to use some kind of word or phrase to say, I've got him good on the sideline so that my back judge can show the touchdown? But talk about how you're going to communicate that. I know I was on Crew Kelly last year, and Rubes said, if you want to give the crew the, 5 will get us 1, go ahead. Because you're looking right at the box. So that was my job. Now, Mike talked about having the head linesman do it, and that's pretty much, I think, how most crews do it. But whatever everybody's comfortable with. So talk that over ahead of time. I know, because now I'm going to be on Oki's crew, and I asked those guys 2 years ago when I started if we could wear the O2Os in the JV games, the 9th grade games on the off nights, so that I could practice knowing what I'm looking at, knowing what I should have called someplace, or how should I say this? How should I phrase this? And it's very helpful. And I know when people go out and work the junior high games or the 9th grade games or whatever, you're not with maybe the people that you're going to work your varsity game with. But I challenge some of you veterans like Tim or Dave, or Chris, when you go out and you're working with some younger officials or less experienced officials, tell them 2 days ahead of time, hey, bring your O2O. Let's use them. Let's practice with them a little bit, because it takes a little bit of the wow factor out, and you know how to hook it up, and you know where you like it on your belt best, so you're not chasing the freaking thing because it bounces off and lands in the mud puddle, and just how to key your mic and how to do it so you don't create that feedback that screams in everybody's ear. And I can see Chris smiling. You know what I'm talking about, and it just gets people comfortable with it. And I'll tell you, people were gracious with me and allowed us to do that on off nights, but it sure made me a whole lot comfortable come Friday night. The first time I've got to wear one in a game, going, oh my God, I already knew where it fit best. I already knew you know, how I was going to key the mic, where I'm going to wear it, which way do I run the wire down the back of my head and through my shirt, and, you know, where does it come out? You know, you guys are laughing, but it's
Yeah.
true,
No,
right?
it's so true, MJ.
Because that's not in the
MJ, it's
that's
so
not in the
true.
manual. You got to
No, and the
learn
first
that on
time
the
you
No,
fly.
put that
it's
thing
so
on,
true.
you're like, oh, and you find that
And-
hole in your shirt where the cord's supposed to go through after your third game. You're like, well, shit, nobody told me this. Yeah.
Hey, Kurt, let me ask you a question, Kurt. Did you know where to put your flag and your beanbag game one?
No.
No.
Well,
So
I
now
knew
you
it.
have a
I knew it had to be on my belt somewhere, but
yeah.
what's
now you have an
easiest to
overflow.
grab, you know?
What the fuck do I do with this? MJ, you're so spot on. It's unbelievable.
Oh, that's
Oh,
excellent.
yeah.
Unbelievable.
And
Yes.
like your flag, are you going to throw it with your right hand or are you going to throw it with your left hand? And which
Right.
way, which side you want it on so you can pull it? And
Mhm.
oh,
Like
yeah.
12, 13 years ago, I was at the Byron Scrimmage and Mike Graff. We were in the white knickers. And Mike's like, where are you going to put your flag? I'm like, I don't know. Where do you want me to put it?
Somewhere.
I had it in my pocket. And Mike's like, no, you need to stuff it in your belt line.
belt,
Like,
yeah.
how do I do that?
Yeah, it's those
It's
little
unbelievable.
things. Yep.
Yes.
I kept losing my flag. Damn thing kept dropping on the ground. And then,
Well, don't do that, MJ.
no, but then I said to Jay Loney, and I was working with Jay, and I said, I can't keep this thing tucked in my belt. He goes, oh, don't tuck it in your belt. He goes, tuck it inside your spandex inside.
Right.
He goes, that's what I do. He goes, otherwise I'm chasing the thing all the time. I'm like, good tip.
There you go.
Or be fat like me and just, it sticks there.
That's excellent. That's an excellent way to close out tonight.
Yes, because I have to do the umpire meeting now.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, man.
Well, no, I can't do it.
Oh,
I've
until we
learned.
close.
No, I can't. I've learned that I can't start the umpire meeting because Jared is the meeting whatever until this meeting ends.
Oh,
so
okay.
Chris, do your thing.
Okay. No, that's it. Appreciate you guys tonight. Thank you so much for the interaction. That's what's going to make us better is if we all invest. So have a good week. Are we back next week? This is the last one?
I don't think so, Chris. I think this is it.
Okay.
I think this
But-
is the last one.
But let's keep in touch. We got emails. We got phone numbers. So keep in touch. Look out for
Absolutely.
info.
Thanks much.
Yep. Look out for the clinic info. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, everybody. Be good out there.
Thanks, guys.